I'm starting to work on my rotors, front rotors. These are new rotors. They're power stops. I have a set of originals, and they may actually turn down and be okay. But I figure, what the heck? I just go ahead and get a new set, even though these are imports. I'm sure they're made over yonder. So anyway, these are power stops. What I'm going to do, I'm going to paint the outside of the hat, the rotor, the hat part, and the stem. These rotors, they have a coating. Come on, hold on. They have a coating on the inside of the rotor and inside the vanes. I read about it. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a coating. So I'm definitely going to leave it alone, and hopefully it'll maintain through the years and not rust or come off or anything. Well, they did not coat the outside for whatever reason. I guess it was for, I don't know why they didn't do it, frankly. So I'm going to paint the outside. I've been tossing in my head between powder coating and paint. I'm building a powder coat oven, and it's not finished, so that's one reason I'm not powder coating, because I'm not ready to powder coat it yet. And I bought some of that VHT caliper paint. It's supposed to be good to 900 degrees. It's not catalyzed. There is catalyzed paint out there for high heat, but boy, that stuff's expensive, and that would have been my preference, but boy, is it expensive. And people that were using this stuff are pretty good, so I'm going to give it a try. Like I said, just on the outer part of the hat and up in the spindle, whatever you call it. So what I'm doing, first off, I wiped it down with acetone. There was a little bit of residue on there, not a lot, but a little. And then lightly sandblasted again. The areas that I'm painting, I lightly sandblasted. This is taped off with duct tape, the outer face of the rotor face, and my studs, and I've taped off both bearing openings. These rotors are brand new. They don't have a speck of grease on them yet, so I wanted to get all this done before I greased them and installed them. So anyway, I've taped off both openings so the abrasive can't get inside the rotor. But if it did, there's no grease in there. Should be easy to blow back out. But there's no reason for it to get in there. I've got a duct tape really strong. So I've already sandblasted this one very lightly. Here's you can see one that I haven't touched yet. You know, still got the shiny mirror finish for unblasted versus that one that is blasted. So all I'm going to do now is sandblast this one and then put the VHT paint on there. I bought new Timken bearings. They come with the races. These rotors come with races already installed. But since I've got the new Timken bearings, I'm just going to go ahead and knock these races out and put the Timken races in there. Does it make a difference? Hard to say. But I've got the Timken races. It goes with the Timken bearings, so I'm going to use them. So anyway, but right now we're getting ready to put paint on them. So I'll come back when I got more to show. Well, folks, we've hit a milestone. Effie is off the rotisserie. I got it off the rotisserie this morning, and I had to stand back and admire a bit because that's been a long time coming. So there we are. I got my brake drums painted. I'll show those. They're outside baking in the sun. I'll show those, our rotors, not drums. I'll show those when I get back in here. So my next steps are probably going to get the front brakes on, at least the rotors, not the calipers for now. I really want to get it down into being a rotor so I can get back to work on this cab. I was hoping to paint this cab this summer. It's already into June, almost July, so that's probably not going to happen. But, you know, I do what I can when I can. That's about all I can say about that. Okay, welcome back. Still working on Effie here. I'm about to get the wheel bearings in the rotors and get them on the spindles and be that much closer to having a rotor. So what I'm doing, I think I mentioned before, these are brand new They're power stops, which means they're made, you know, not in the USA. But they're brand new power stops. They've got some surface rust on the rotor faces from me picking them up barehanded, which I knew that was going to happen, because here in the South, you know, any moisture and humidity and rust, it's, you know, yeah. So I sanded it off best I could with the Scotch-Brite. They're still on there a little bit, and you know, it's going to be on there a little bit till I get it running one day and actually can put brakes, apply the brakes. And by the way, I'm south of Atlanta, Georgia. It was in the mid-90s last week. Today it's actually pretty cool. Well, it's 80, looks like it's 82, 81. But the humidity is off the scale, which is 90% or more. So yeah, welcome to the South. You guys that don't live here, you don't know anything about humidity, come here once and experience it in the summertime. Anyhow, so I'm going to do my best to touch these. I'm going to wear gloves or put my fingers in the veins where there's actually a coating, you know, some kind of coating they put in there. Or put on gloves is probably the best way to do it, to not touch these rotor faces anymore. Because if I do, it's just going to start rusting again. So what I'm going to do, obviously I said put the bearings in. I bought one of these bearing race insert driver kits. I've never used these before. I've always just used a brass drift of one size or another. This is not probably the right size. And done it that way, but you know, the imports from China, they don't cost that much. And I figured, what the heck, probably time to have one. I got all 4 bearing races to do on this truck. Well, actually, the 4 in the front and the 2 in the rear. Although they probably, I guess the rear cinch in with the axles. Anyhow, press in. Anyhow, I figured I'd go ahead and get one. So I'm going to be using one of these to drive the bearings in, or the races in. So they shouldn't give me any trouble. But then, you know, that's always come sometimes to be famous last words. Anyhow, I'm rambling again, and I don't normally ramble. So I'll get this set up and put some races in and get some bearings in. I still have to pack my bearings. I haven't done that yet. So that's a slow, tedious process. And then I'll get set up to drive the races in and show some of that. So hang on and I'll be back. I think I mentioned in an earlier video, those rotors came with bearings or with races installed. I've even got them here somewhere. Where? Hold on. Where did I put them? Hang on, they're right here. Yeah. They got China. You can't see that, but they're China. Got a part number. So I don't know who made these things, whether they're any good or not. I bought new Timken bearings. They came with races, so I drove the China bearings out, China races out, and I'm putting the Timken races in. Whether they're made in China too or not, it says USA on the back of them. So I've always used Timken for bearings. Never had a problem. Knock on my hard-headed wood here. So that's what I'm doing. So put the Timken races in. Yeah. This is supposed to work, so I need my handy dandy hammer. In case to those that haven't used one of these or don't know, this driving face is aluminum. Here, this driving face is aluminum, so it won't mar the steel. I'm telling you what, I wear glasses, and the humidity out here got my glasses fogged up to the point I just about can't see. Whew. Humidity is real, boys, people, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, sir, buddy. All right, here we go. All right, that went crooked. It's not supposed to do that. I'll take a brass. Hitting it with my hand. I'll take a brass drift and see if I can straighten it back up. I'll probably put it in wrong. Like I said, it's humid out here. I just about can't see what I'm doing accurately, at least. think that's going. Yeah, it's going. Haven't bottomed out yet. I'll hear it. Maybe you'll hear it or not. I think that bottomed out right there. Yeah, that's bottomed out. It's more of a sound thing than it is a feel thing. Okay, so we're now. That's what's up, we got to change this outside. So, now I'm done. I'll do bear race before we work out. Just won't check outside. I'll recommend that. No bear race. I'll show you part of this here in a minute. Let me stick it there. So I got to finish driving this one. I was mistaken when I thought it was down. I was looking at the wrong shoulder. That could have been a pretty big mistake. Yeah, okay. So let's keep driving this one. There it goes. Alright, now we're against the shoulder. Okay, now we're in there. Flip it and do the other side. I have not seen the rust off this outer face yet, rotor face. I'll do that at some point. I guess I could do it now, but I don't want to get rust all over my clean little towel here that I use. Alright, other bearing. See which driver I need. Nope. That's good for it. That would, well, I'll try that one. Well, not a good, I'll try the smaller one first. Don't think it'll make a difference. Definitely hitting. Okay, that one's down. I'll grab the other side. Do these like this. Outer is a set 13. The inner is a 12. Yeah, inner is a set 12. And then the seal, it's like the seals of 40, 41, 48. These are all, obviously these are all Timken parts. Alright, I'm going to set up to put this thing in dry. Not going to grease the bearings yet, not going to put the seal in yet. I want to put it together dry, just make sure everything's okay. So once I do that, I'll come back and pack some bearings and put it together for real. I'll pull my baggies I put on here last winter when after I got my painting done. I put a little bit of light coat of grease on here to keep it from rusting, and I didn't want it getting dirt all over it, so I put the little baggies on there. These little, actually little parts bags that I got from McMaster Car. You could use Ziploc bags or whatever you want to use, but I have a bunch of these from my addiction to buying stuff from McMaster Car. Alright, this tape, this is all the body tape here. I use the good stuff because I knew it was going to be on here for months. And that tape is really good about not sticking to itself. If I use duct tape or even that blue painter's tape, it'd be goo everywhere, especially with duct tape. Okay. Yep, still looks good. No rust. The light coat of grease I put on it is still there. Not all nasty. Alright. I'm not going to bother to clean this at all at the moment because it doesn't need cleaning. I could put a little, I guess I could put a light coat of grease on there, but I don't. I guess I'll clean it off. It's just, I made AC/DC. Good Lord. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. And if you don't, you can just get oh boy. Believe me, I'm not trying to be funny, it just happens. Anyway, just, it ain't gonna hurt you to clean it off, that's for sure. Not really looking for ADD. I'm not really ADD. I'm anal retentive, I think, is the thing. Every little detail got to be crossed off the list, at least in my mind. Yeah. Okay. I'm also funny about grease on everything. It's driving me insane. Just painted chassis and grease. It's like that. Bought a pack of these towels. They're rags. Well, they're not rags. They're towels, like microfiber. I think they're actually chemical guys. I got them from Amazon. I got a pack of these to you know, sit on my frame or whatever and do work on them, do stuff. Probably ought to buy another pack. All right, let me set the bearings in that rotor. And we'll put it on here and see what happens. Got to be careful with the inner so it don't fall out. Like I said, I didn't put the seal in yet. And these bearings are completely dry. There's no grease, so I got to be careful. I'm using my stock retainers and the nuts and the cap because I got them and they're in pretty good shape. The caps are a little bit beat up, which is pretty normal. I can take a punch and fix them up. I was going to buy some new ones and looked on, I think it was Summit, had like a pack of 5 for like $17 for those caps. And while I don't mind buying stuff when I need it, just wasn't going to Didn't feel like paying $17 for 5 dust caps when the 2 I got are good enough. I can fix them. So, whatever. Probably looking at the other stuff I bought on this truck and going, yeah, what? Anyway. And I'm not afraid to splurge. I've certainly done it on this truck. I never intended to spend the money I did that I spent building this thing. Never had that in my mind when I first started out 10 years ago. But I've always wanted to build a, well, I don't want to say a show truck. This is not a show truck by any means. I've always wanted to build one that was really nice. What I call really nice, at least. This is probably the only one I'll ever build that's going to be this much money or this nice. Now, I could be wrong about that. Who knows what the future's going to bring. But at the moment, I don't have plans. Well, I do have plans, actually, to build other stuff. I do have plans to build other stuff, just not to this level of customizing and all that stuff. But then again, knowing me, who knows? Alright. I'm having to hold this inner bearing. Like I said, I don't have the seal in there, so it can fall right out of it. I let it go. Okay. Whoop. I just had to check that dry. I just wanted to double check and make sure everything fit correctly. So now I got to pack the bearings. Got to put the seal in. Got to clean this out one last time. As far as packing the bearings, I've got one of these type packers you've all probably seen. I bought that thing, well, a long time ago. I think I bought it from the Snap-on man when I was still doing body work. It says it's a KD though, so maybe I didn't. Maybe I bought it at the parts store. That thing works, but it can be a real pain to use if you've ever used one. I bought a newer one. This is a Lyle. Same basic idea. It's got a, this one has a plunger in the middle that comes out. This one's got the same idea. I just wanted to buy a new one. You know, this thing's been used a lot, and it's always kind of big and kind of frustrating. This has got regular basic wheel bearing grease. I bought a can of Valvoline full synthetic grease. Whether it does anything different or not, that's what I've been using in my grease gun for a while. So I didn't want to try to mix the two. Not that it probably doesn't make a difference, but anyway, and I wanted a new one anyhow, just to give it a try. So let me load that thing up, and we'll pack the bearing and see how much easier or harder, different it is than my old trusty, I guess I'll call it. So just hang on a few minutes. Okay, I got one of my bearings packed. It's in here. You really can't see that, I realize. I'll show a better view of that later. It packed it, so what I'm going to do now is grease my race. Put the first bearing in. I did wear gloves, in case you're curious. I did wear gloves packing the grease in this canister. I don't like wearing those gloves that much. It just, yeah, I guess you'd say I'm old school. Grease don't bother me. Grease, oil, dirt, all that mess don't bother me. But yeah, packing that grease, that is pretty darn nasty in that can. So I did wear a glove for that. So what I'll do now, take some of the same grease and grease up my race. Now I'll be the first to admit I probably put too much grease. Whenever I do this, I probably always put too much grease. But I mean, in this case, is there really a thing that's too much? I don't know. Probably, maybe, possibly. I'm greasing it really well. And I'm putting some grease down inside the hub too, just to help it stop from rusting. Whether it ever would or not, with all that grease in there, is doubtful. I just like it to be well greased. I mean, let's just be honest about it. I do. I'm not just caulking it in there, but I'm putting what I would call clean. I've got it up in the seal tray. That I will clean out with my finger. And then probably get a rag in there before I put the seal in. You don't want a bunch of grease pushing out behind the seal when you drive in there. A little bit on this outer face, just again. And then same thing with this one. I'm sure everybody has their own way of doing this. This is how I do it. This is how my dad taught me to do it. Many years ago, when I was a wee teenager. If I was even that old, I probably was at least 13. I might have been 11 or 12, I don't remember. Get excess out. I've told this story many times to people that I know. Bought my first car, I was 15 years old. We towed it home with a rope. Not a chain, a rope. My dad driving that red truck that I'm working on that most of y'all have seen. My dad was driving that truck. I bought a 62 Ford Fairlane. That the people that know me will remember that car. It was white. 62 Ford Fairlane. No engine, no transmission, so we tied a rope to it. We walked about 2 or 3 miles from where I grew up, where I lived. So we had a rope. Dad tied the car to the truck with the rope, and I was in the back braking and steering. You guys that have done that, you know what that's like. You know, pulling a car, you got to brake and steer because there's no tow bar. Towed it home with a rope. I built the engine and put a transmission in it. The engine had the interior done, painted it, whole 9 yards. That was a nice car. 15 years old. Okay, so grease. Alright, so the inner race is greased. Now I'm going to put that first bearing in. One thing I want to show on these bearings, when you use that packer, it drives the grease up through the top of the cage, which it's supposed to do. The thing it doesn't do is push very little grease. There's a small amount of grease here pushing out the side of the rotors. That always has bothered me. I mean, it doesn't matter. It just always kind of bothered me that it doesn't do that. Because when you pack one by hand, the grease shows out through the rotors and everything. Anyway, all I do is just take the extra grease, obviously, get the extra grease off, and then grease that. You can't see that. Grease the outer edge of the cage, of course. I mean, here's a case where you want plenty of grease for sure. And then, of course, you do want to take off the excess because you don't need all those gobs of grease in there. You guys that have greased a wheel bearing before, I'm sure you're about to go to sleep. Anyway, that's just how I do it, especially with that bearing packer. I do like it. That dial packer is a little bit easier to use. It doesn't seem to take quite as much force to press it down. I'll be using it from now on. So anyhow, there's a bearing, packed, ready to put in. Well, there we go. So the only thing we have to do this side is put the seal in. So let me clean my fingers up, and we'll put a seal in this one, and this back side will be done. And I've got rags around here that I saved just for grease. I mean lots of grease. So I'm just wiping the grease off on my hands. Can't keep them forever, but you can use them for a while until they get so greased up you can't obviously do anything with them anymore. Which the case, the one I'm using now is about in that state. So anyway, another thing that people know me know about me, I hate to waste anything. Rags, it don't matter. I hate to waste anything. Just how I am. Also, if you didn't know, you can use these race installers to drive in seals. You just turn them around and use the flat side against the seal and drive it in. Put the seal in. Or hand it down your driving tool. I'm going to sit down where I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to get it good and flat. Here we go. Now, that right there is worth the price of admission. I've always used a big socket to do that, or a drift or something. That right there is worth the price what I paid for that thing, just to put that seal in. That's sharp. I like that. So I should have bought one of those 40 years ago, 30 years ago. My dad may have had one. In fact, my dad, I think I've said numerous times, my dad worked at Delta Airlines. He had access to every kind of tool known to man. I'm almost sure, in fact, I remember us doing brake jobs and him taking the rotors of the drums to Delta and having them turned. I can almost guarantee you he did all this stuff with tools he had at Delta. So that's probably why we never had one at home, because he had one at Delta. It worked. If he did, somebody else did. All right, one drum done. One rotor done. Inside anyway. Sealed in, bearings in, it's greased up, my hand's in the way. So that's about enough to see to that. It's just rinse and repeat on the other side, obviously. So let me get that done. There's no sense showing you more of that. It's going to get boring if it hasn't already. So I'll get that done, and I'll either get them installed, then come back, and maybe I'll show putting one on. I don't know. I mean, putting a rotor on is no big deal. Anyway, I'll see. I'm working on getting my rotors on. I just want to take a second and mention these splash shields. I got them on now. And if you remember, I'll try and show a picture of them. How cruddy these things looked when I started with them. And I forget which side was beat up so bad, whether it was, I had to look in the video, I can probably figure out if it was this side, and then here's the passenger side. I can't remember which side was so cruddy, so bent up so bad. But here they are now, straightened up obviously, painted. I don't think I ever showed them after I painted them. I might have, I don't remember. But here's those splash shields. Of course, the rest of my front axle, yada yada yada. Not bad. I could look at them closely and figure it out, but the fact that I can't, off the top of my head, see it is a good thing. Anyhow, I just wanted to show that. I guess I'm bragging a little bit, even though I shouldn't be. Anyhow, back to it. More rotors and stuff. Alright, rotors are on. I did not put the dust caps on, as you can see. I've still got to straighten them up. They're right here. They're not horrible. They're bent up, rusty. This one especially. So I'm going to straighten them up best I can. Clean them up. Probably put a coat of paint on them. I definitely won't do anything, as far as driving or anything, which is years away anyway. Maybe not years, but without the dust covers on. But for now, they're fine. I haven't even tightened them, torqued them to specs yet, or bent the cotter pins over. They're just in there. I mean, they're on there, hopefully for the last time. Hopefully I don't have to take them back off for anything. So, rotors are on. The splash shields, of course, are on. Suspension is almost done. Again, I have not torqued the suspension down yet. But anyhow, so I haven't torqued. This one nut hasn't been torqued yet. That one has. The passenger side has. None of the suspension is torqued yet, obviously. I guess I can do it whenever I just decide I want to do it. I'm not procrastinating. I want to set the toe in for one thing. I want to get the weight on it and get it down on the ground really before I do all that. Obviously, got to put the shocks in. I've got my shocks now. I ordered some new KGB, I don't remember. And they're those gas shocks that everybody seems to like nowadays. I got a set of those. They're here. I just hadn't put them on yet. So anyhow, we are one axle away in my rear end from having a rotor. So I'm going to try, today is Saturday, I'm going to try either later tonight, it's getting late, either after I get through filming this or tomorrow, I'm going to try to get that axle tube in and maybe get it on the ground, because the next major operation I want to do is put the engine in it and tranny in it, hopefully for the last time. Well, I take that back. The engine, I'm changing the oil pan. I got a front sump pan to come out of a car to put on it. I used the rear sump truck pan or a van pan originally when I first put it together, thinking I had to have that pan for clearance, but the rear sump pan actually I think would have hit the tie rods. I never really tried to find that out. I could pull that spring out over there, I guess, and find out. Which is what I was originally going to do, was jack the suspension all the way up till it gave out a travel and see if it would hit. But then I realized that a car pan had plenty of clearance here in the front. The one thing I am going to do, and why I want to mock it up, I'm going to weld in a new oil pan drain plug on the front of the pan so it can drain down the front instead of running all over the cross member. So that's why one of the reasons I want to get the engine and transmission in there next. Change the pans out, mock all that up, plus get the weight on it. Maybe even set the cab on it, I don't know yet. If I get the cab set on it too, I can pretty much guess at the compressed height of the suspension at that point. So I don't know if I'll put the cab on it temporarily or not. Definitely gonna put the engine in it and transmission, hopefully again for the last time. So anyway, we're making steps and we're making baby steps. It depends. So anyway, for now, again, thanks for looking in. Thanks for watching along. Hope you're enjoying what you're seeing. So I'll see you next time. Thanks and bye.